I'd like to extend my thanks to Lindsay and to the art firm for providing these starter packs. These are going to be really, really useful to you. Rather than me run through them, run through the contents now, I'm going to sort of point out a few of the more useful things in this. I'm going to put out the practical uses of things contained in your starter packs as I go through the presentation. So these are the core components. I will just talk a little bit about the track pins, which, as Lindsay mentioned at the beginning, they do come from model railway sets, but they're very handy because, for one thing, they're very, very discreet. They're tiny. I can just show you them in here. They are very, very small, and they're already coated in a lacquer, which means you don't need to use tubing, so it's not fiddly. If you want to display small objects quickly and easily, these are very, very handy for that purpose. They're not going to react with the coin unless you clip the heads off. So as long as you sort of leave the pin intact, they can hold coins in place very securely and very discreetly as well. And so you can see from this slide that very intricate displays can be created using these track pins, and that ensures that the object is the focus rather than the mount. It's always the sort of the ongoing problem. How do you make sure that how you're displaying the object isn't the focus of it? You want the coin to be at the sort of the centre of that attention. Everyone has their own display techniques, I know, but I thought these might be of use or at least of interest to people, so I've included those in the packs there. Right, so that's the first thing to mention. Ben, of course, later on is going to be talking about display in more detail, hopefully, if he arrives. Right, so I'm just going to introduce what I'm going to talk about. Yeah, this is best practice in storage of numismatic collections. This is with the intention of keeping the objects secure as well as stable in terms of conservation. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm aware of the funding problems and staff shortages that can restrict this kind of project. But I hope to point out some simple and cost-effective solutions and also just highlight some alternatives. I'm going to tell you about what we do. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm not saying that's what the best way of doing, the best way of storing things. It's just what we do, so I'm just hoping to give you just some ideas, basically. And yeah, this is for the long-term safety of the objects in terms of their stability as well as their security. So I've got a couple of things to mention there. And yeah, so it's helpful suggestions and advice. I just took this picture at work the other day. This is just, I've been on many assessment trips across the whole of the UK, not just in the northwest. I've been sort of from Cornwall to Aberdeen just within the last 5 or 6 months. And I've seen quite a lot of things on my travels. And these are just a few things that I've spotted which are just worth avoiding where it's possible. I know it's not always possible, but I just like to just sort of point these out. Along the way. So the first thing, medals which are sort of loose together, if they're stored in drawers and they're loose, maybe with their tickets or with tickets tied to them, when you open the drawer, they can rattle around, rub against each other, which can cause scratches, damage, wear, and also if they're two different types of metal, they can react together, which can cause corrosion, which obviously isn't what you want for the safety of your object. In terms of storing things in objects, manila envelopes like the one on the top right and the one on the bottom right there, the older style manila envelope, they're very bad for conservation in terms of off-gassing. They can cause the coins to corrode. So I'm going to be suggesting some alternatives for storing things in envelopes a bit later. And in the centre there, the PVC envelope, that is, I'll focus on this a bit later as well, but the PVC envelope, that should be avoided where at all possible. PVC can cause reactions with metal objects. So if their use can be avoided, that is, it's worth thinking of something else. And fines bags, a lot of people use fines bags. They're not as bad as the PVC, but they're not ideal. And as you can see in this example here, it's quite a tatty old fine bag, which is ripped slightly, so it's just increases the chance of the object coming out of the bag and before they becoming separated from its tickets, or worst case scenario, getting lost. And also, the box it's stored in itself, it's not conservation grade there. I think that was just from a box of slides, something like that. So that's not ideal in terms of conservation reasons as well. So let's begin with coins, just for fun. If you're using wooden cabinets, I thought I'd just sort of point out a few things along the way about that. Wooden cabinets, of course, for one thing, they're very stylish, they look very nice. These ones that we use at the BM, they're mahogany, so there's little chance of them off-gassing. And also, many of are ones, for one thing, they're left for a while before we use them. that allows any potential gases to sort of evaporate and escape. And also some of the older ones that we use, any off-gassing that would have happened has by now happened already. So mahogany cases should be pretty stable. And of course there are good uses of space because you can fill them with a large number of trays, and each tray can hold around 30-40 coins. So if you've got a small collection, you can get everything in one cabinet. If you've got a larger collection, you can have several cabinets. So it's a good sort of use of space to use cabinets if you've got them. I'm trying desperately to make this sound exciting, which is why I've called it Anatomy of a Coin Tray. Trying to do a bit of numismatics CSI. This is a coin tray from our collection at the BM. This is a tray of Roman imperial gold. These are arranged chronologically by emperor. We arrange them sort of by series, divided there with their header tickets. We'd let you know which series they're from. They're all visible and easily accessible, so as soon as you open that tray you can see straight away all the coins that are there. You don't need to sort of rummage around in a drawer looking for things on top of each other. They're all there, readily accessible. Acid-free tickets record the details of each coin, so each coin sits on, you have sort of 2, 3 or several tickets for each object. That will include maybe details such as obviously the ID number, registration number, or the catalogue reference, any photography that's been done on that object. You can keep all that information with that object together in a little hole in the tray. And many of these coin cabinets, particularly historic ones, they come with felt inserts in each hole. I'd strongly advise that they be removed because felt is bad for conservation, that it can off-gas and cause corrosion. Also, it's attractive to pests. It's not a huge issue, obviously, for metal objects if you get a pest infestation in your coin cabinet. But if you've got textiles stored nearby, many storerooms do, or if you've got textile on display in galleries not too far away, obviously then a pest infestation becomes a serious problem. So it's time-consuming and, I will admit, tedious, but it is worth doing if you go through every single hole in each tray and remove those felt discs. It's really worth doing. The same goes for felt on the base of the cabinet itself as well. It's better safe than sorry, basically. When I first started at the BM, in my other job as a museum assistant, this was one of the tasks that was ongoing. We went through every single cabinet and every single tray and removed all those felt discs just to make sure that that conservation aspect was taken care of. So it is worth doing. And you'll notice that every space here is filled with an object or a ticket. This is for security reasons. I will just talk a little bit more about this in a sec. Yeah, so the storage techniques, obviously, they also apply for tokens. I just wanted to include this tray because it's a tray of trade tokens from Liverpool and Manchester, so obviously very relevant to the region today. You'll notice this tray, it has a lot of empty spaces. We do allow for expansion space within each series where possible, and also when the series finishes and the next one begins in the next tray, you might leave the last few holes empty. I would seriously recommend that you don't leave them empty, that you put some kind of a ticket or official substitute in its place. This means that when you come to look for something in your collection, you open the drawer, you look inside. If you see an empty hole, you might straight away, alarm bells might be ringing, you think, has that A gone missing, been lost, or perhaps been stolen at some point along the way? If you've got something in every single spare hole, when you open that tray, you'll see that all the holes are filled. You are then reassured, it's for your own peace of mind, basically, safety of the collection in terms of security, that you know everything is still there, nothing has gone missing at some point in the past. And it is a serious issue which we take extremely seriously at the BM. It is an obvious concern. Coins are small and very portable. Sadly, they are very easily nickable, basically, to be blunt. And I, in fact, took the decision not to show the substitutes that we use. We use sort of little tickety things to fill each hole. I've chosen not to show those today for those security reasons. It's not that I don't trust the people here, but I'm aware that this is going to be going as a video onto YouTube. So it just means that people outside of this room can't then see how we get around that security problem. So that's the reason behind that. I don't mean to sound paranoid or anal, although I probably have a little bit of both. But it honestly is a serious concern, and you can't be too careful, sadly. Before I get onto that, you'll notice that some of these holes are quite large. If you've got tiny coins, many coins in your collection may be very, very, very small. And what do you do about making sure that A, they don't fall through these holes? Obviously, the coin ticket sits in place here. That means it's handy because the object has a bit of cushioning between the rough wood of the tray. But coins can slip underneath the tray sometimes if they're being looked at by students or by members of staff. they can slip underneath. So very, very small coins can actually slip through holes as big as this. So a good way to get around that is to use these coin capsules, examples of which you do have in your starter packs. So they're going to be very useful, I think. Whilst I'm on the subject, another big thanks to Lindsay here for providing these. These are the coins removed tickets that she mentioned at the beginning. If we take something out of a coin tray to put on display, or to take for photographic reasons, or for if someone wants to look at it for study purposes, or it goes to another department, when we take it out of the hole, we don't leave the hole empty. We put one of these tickets in its place, and these are really handy because on the one side, you'll see them closer up a bit later. On the one side, it says coin removed, and so when you open the tray, as I was saying earlier, straight away you can see that ticket there that says coin removed. You know that nothing has gone missing or nothing untoward has happened. Someone official from the museum has put in one of those tickets in place because it's gone somewhere else. And the really great thing about these is when you turn them around, you can't really see it very clearly from here, I know, but the details here, they say by, for, to, and on. So that means that, say, a member of staff has taken a coin out of storage, someone else comes along and wants to find that coin and hasn't been told that it's been taken off display, taken out of storage, they can find one of these tickets and see who took it out of storage, why they took it, where they took it to, maybe to a gallery or to conservation or whatever, and what date. So it's really good and really handy for tracing objects if they're not immediately available in the tray. And they are amazingly useful things. I think you will find that they are extremely useful. And it's really great that Lindsay's been able to stockpile them here because they are sadly very, very sort of cost prohibitive to buy in small numbers for smaller institutions. So the fact that Lindsay's got these stockpiled here is a really, really excellent thing. Right, so just a summary of the main points there. I'll just rattle through them quite quickly so I'm not repeating myself too much. Yeah, cabinets are efficient. Felt, which can off-gas, should ideally be removed. And as I say, it's time-consuming and it is boring, but it is honestly a worthwhile thing for the long-term care of the collections. Certain things here which I've underlined, that's not for emphasis, it's just to let you know that these are included in your starter packs. So that includes the acid-free tickets, the coin removed tickets, and the coin capsules. So, not everyone uses wooden cabinets, of course. Some people use plastic cabinets, they're also absolutely fine. Plastic is inert, it's not going to react with the objects contained within. And also, they are the sort of the mahogany cabinets, they are quite expensive. So if you're looking to buy a new one, for example, spending a couple of £100 on a wooden one is perhaps not going to be the best option. So the plastic ones are a much more affordable option. Yeah, I've just trying to make this look dynamic. Here's just a picture of some plastic trays with plastic cabinets with trays open. And again, it's exactly the same arrangement with the tickets and with the coins in series order. Here's another alternative that we use. If you don't want to use these, we have these wooden cabinets with larger plastic trays with plastic inserts. And again, this is all inert, it's not going to react with the coins. And the two spaces you see here, obviously they will be filled with one of our substitutes just to indicate that nothing's actually missing. But again, for security reasons, I didn't include those in the slides. So a summary of plastic cabinets. More affordable, obviously, it's an obvious benefit there. Plastic's inert, less chance of off-gassing. You can use the tickets I mentioned earlier as with the wooden cabinets. And again, just to emphasise that point about filling empty spaces, that is really quite an important thing. I'll probably bang on about that quite a lot, so just bear with me. And yeah, because it is better safe than sorry. Metal cabinets, again, Bisley, this is a Bisley cabinet, they're a very good brand, and other cabinets are available, of course. And if you can use these to either store coins in envelopes in rows, or in trays inside the cabinets, or in acid-free boxes, which I'll get onto a little later. So just to summarise that, that's basically exactly what I've just said, so I won't run through it all again pointlessly. Right, acid-free envelopes and acid-free boxes. I mentioned the PVC envelopes before. I'm going to get onto them again a bit shortly. We tend, for storage of our permanent collections, we tend not to use envelopes on any kind of large scale, but this is an example here of a coin hoard that goes through the treasure process. You can see just how many coins you can get into a very small box. is another view there. The one on the left is the medieval hoard, the one on the right is the Roman hoard. You can store them all in series order or catalogue order very easily, and they can be kept very neat, very tidy. And obviously, because these are acid-free paper, they're not going to cause any kind of corrosion on the objects contained within. So just to sort of PVC versus acid-free paper, I have got, which Lindsay gave to me earlier, some examples of the PVC envelopes. If you look at them, I'm going to pass them around so you can have a closer look. You can see why they're not ideal. It's because you can see in some cases, actually, where the coin has started corroding within the PVC envelope, you can see the image imprinting on the actual PVC. So they really are worth ditching and replacing with paper ones. And you do actually have a starter supply of paper envelopes in your starter packs as well. And also, if anything, any labels are stored within, if they're not on acid-free paper, they can cause the coins to corrode as well. So this is all for your long-term care. And the coin, so you could get around that by using one of these acid-free coin discs. These are very handy. These are in your starter packs too. So I will just pass these around if you want to. So PVC, just go into a little bit more detail on that. Moisture can build up within the PVC envelopes, which can cause something which is called envelope sweating, which sounds charming. It's basically, moisture forms within, creates a sort of mini atmosphere within that PVC envelope, and that can then cause a reaction with your coin, which is not good for its long-term care. The benefit is you can see the object straight away because one side is transparent, but I think the cons of the paper alternative outweigh the pros of the PVC, but obviously it's up to your choice based on your facilities. There's another alternative. There are things you can get which are called corrosion intercept bags. They're very, very similar in style to the PVC envelope there, but one side is, it contains a sort of copper sheet, and so any reaction that happens within that bag is absorbed by the copper. But I think they're a little bit sort of higher up on the cost scale. And your acid-free pens, like document pens or archive pens, they can be used to write all the information of the coin on the envelope and also on the coin ticket, which eliminates the need to actually write the registration number on the coin itself. So yeah, again, a quick summary on that. Avoid PVC where possible. Replace it with paper if that's possible. Manila envelopes, they're pretty bad for causing corrosion too. If you can get rid of those, that's worthwhile as well. Again, this is a long-term, time-consuming project, but for the benefit of the collection, it is worth doing. And once they're all sort of neatly in their envelopes and arranged in order, if you open your drawer or your cabinet or wherever you're storing them, they're very easily accessible, which is handy if you need to get something quite quickly. So let's move on to medals. This is a medals cabinet of the type that we use at the BM, very, very similar to the coin cabinet, obviously. The gaps here, you can see, these are for outsized objects. If you've got any large medals in there, to avoid them rubbing against the tray above, we just leave a space. This is all very obvious stuff, but I'm just sort of illustrating it. One thing we use, which I think you might find useful, is these acid-free medal boxes. I've got a little stash of these, which I've put into the starter pack. So they come in different sizes. You can get larger ones and smaller ones as well, but I've given you a couple of examples of two sizes here. The great thing about these is if your medals are larger than coins, obviously, so if you're storing them in a drawer or a larger tray like this one, like I was saying earlier, when you open that tray, when the medals open with the force of the tray opening as well, they can slide around and kind of bang into each other, cause reactions when they're in storage not being looked at. And so these acid-free cardboard boxes, they just eliminate that. The object, can't bang into each other, they can't react against each other, and they can be stored very neatly as well. You can write on them, recording all the details of the object, and also, as you can see, each object has a coin ticket as well, with the relevant information recorded there. And so yeah, that's just illustrating that point about opening the tray. So I think that the benefits of these is obvious. These cost about £1 to make. They're all handmade. And badges can also be stored in this way. Badge collections, a lot of people do have quite a lot of badges in their collections, so it's another just an easier way of storing those badges is to use the same boxes. Exactly the same principle. Another alternative, if buying the boxes is something that you don't want to do, or if it's a sort of cost prohibitive thing, one thing you can do is get some foam or plastazote, make some cutouts and put those in your existing drawers or trays, and when you open the tray or the drawer, each object has its own cutout so it can't move around. Plastazote is of course inert, so that's not going to cause any reactions, and each ticket can be put underneath each object, so you know exactly which one goes where. There's a quick summary of medals there and cutouts. So let's move on. Right, this I've just included this for interest really. A lot of medals include, as part of the object really, these presentation boxes. So what to do about that? I've just gone on about how felt can cause corrosion to objects. Obviously this is leather, this is clearly quite an old metal presentation case. So what to do? Do you remove them, store them separately, or do you keep them together? It's a bit of a problem really, and I'm not going to provide an answer, not a definitive one anyway. So yes, the material can cause the metal to corrode or tarnish, which is something that you don't want to happen, of course. But if you separate the two, that then doubles the amount of storage space that you need. And then that increases the risk of either the two getting separated or maybe never reunited. And they are part of the same object, they're part of the same story. So to put it basically, it's a shame to separate them. And of course, the storage space, which is the crucial thing here, it's always at a premium. And I can, as I say, I'm not going to give you a definitive answer. I think for conservation reasons, they probably should be separated. But I can show you that 9 times out of 10, we leave them where they are. If it became clear that it was going to be a serious problem, then of course we will separate them and think of something else. But it is easier and saves a lot of space to keep them in the presentation boxes. But it's a bit of a conundrum really, and so really it's up to each institution's individual preference. Medal summary. Maybe I'll just point out some of the things in your starter packs that I've not mentioned already. The nitrile cots. That's these things. I know what they look like, but these are very, 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 very handy. On a few of the trips that I've been on, people have said that because obviously medals with the larger surface area and the deliberate patina on the medal, that can tarnish much more easily than coins can. Ancient metal isn't such an issue in terms of tarnishing when you're holding them with your bare hands. But when you're handling medals with gloves, which is an ideal way of doing things, they're not nice to wear, really. The cotton ones, they are not as snug a fit, and it's more easy for you for the object to slip out of your hand because the nitrile glove does have a better grip. But they make your hand all sweaty and they're just a bit rank, really. If you want to avoid using those, there is an alternative. There's these things. Each one of these just goes on one of your fingers, so you can just sort of do your first 2 fingers on your thumb. It's a much easier, more comfortable way of handling an object there. So these are probably going to be quite handy as well. It just avoids this sort of unpleasantness of having to wear nitrile gloves. So yeah, that's just reiterating the points I was making earlier. Yeah, the boxes keep the medals stationary and separate when the drawer or tray is open. That is a really beneficial thing, I think. And if you use these boxes, it eliminates the need for you to actually physically tie labels onto the object. And also it means that if you're using tickets instead of the tied labels, they can't easily become separated if they're all stored in one place in the acid-free box. Yeah, so let's move on to the next section. Yes, removal of harmful substances. Thanks to my colleague Caroline here for, I was about to say posing for this. She was working quite hard. I was just annoying her with the camera. But here she is working on another conservation project we've got going on at the moment. These are lead objects. Lead can react with off-gassing materials maybe in the cabinet. If there is any off-gassing happening in a wooden cabinet, that can cause corrosion with the lead, which creates sort of lead acetate. I think if formaldehyde is released, it creates lead formide, something like that, although I'm actually made that technical term up, so don't quote me on that. it is ideal if you can remove them and store them separately. I know it's not always possible, as I was saying earlier. I'm aware that space is a crucial issue here. But if you do choose to remove them, the benefits are that their corrosion can't worsen, and also it means that they can't react with other objects stored in the same tray or the same cabinet, so it's worthwhile doing that. So here's just, since Caroline was working on this anyway, I took a few action shots. This is just plasters out. You can obviously use any type of inert foam. She's making some cutouts here. Putting the metals in the cutouts in a metal tray. Metal is much more stable for lead. Massively reduces the risk of tarnishing and corrosion. There they all are. And again with the ticket underneath, so you can tell which object is which and where it goes. And also, if you're worried about disrupting the series in your main collection, say you've got a medals cabinet and you've removed one to put on display, to put into a special lead storage. If you don't want to disrupt that series, if that's quite an important collection, you want to retain the box where it was, so that if someone wants to find it, you can say, well, it was in this series here. You can use, again, like I was mentioning earlier, some kind of ticket to indicate that it's gone to another storage location, i.e. a metal cabinet. That's worth doing, because again, for the same security reasons I mentioned before, it just indicates that nothing has actually gone missing, and it has in fact been moved to a more secure and more stable environment by someone official from the museum. There's metal cabinets, that's where we store the lead. Again, it's Bisley, but other metal cabinets are available. And we use charcoal cloth. This is great because if you cover the metals with charcoal cloth, charcoal absorbs any further off-gassing, any atmospheric pollutants, and so that's for the benefit of the metals. Any corrosion that might happen is absorbed by the cloth rather than the object, so that's a great thing there. And yeah, just a quick summary on that. Those are all the main points which I've already covered, so I won't bore you by repeating them. So let's move on to banknotes. Here's a nice banknote from Liverpool Bank. Now, as you can see, these are stored in Melanex sleeves, and you've got some inner starter packs here. The great thing about these is once you put your paper object inside, I know a lot of people use these already, but once you put these inside the Melanex sleeve, they never really need to come out again unless they're going to conservation. You can see both sides very easily. You can put a ticket in there if you want to keep the object number stored with it, or you can maybe put an acid-free sort of sticky label on the envelope, which is what we've done in this case here. And we, if you ever have people coming in to look at your objects, say in a study room or whatever, if you want to use them for research purposes, it eliminates the need for that person to have to take them out of any kind of storage, because paper can obviously be affected by the acid and sort of grease in your fingertips. You're not putting and they're obviously, of course, they're very fragile too. You're not putting them in any kind of risk by having someone handle them, even if they're wearing gloves. It's still not ideal. Both sides can be seen. There's no need for anyone to take them out of there. So if members of the public or other members of staff are wanting to look at them, it's a very, very handy way of them being visible and accessible. And so we use these to store them in. In the past, people in the distant past, people used to like sort of sticking them to stuff and mounting them to things. It's worth, if you're able to, it's worth removing them from those and storing them separately in Melanex sleeves for the benefit of the objects. But we use these to store large numbers of banknotes. These are very handy if you've got a small collection, because you could just get one. These are available from Conservation by Design. If you've got a small collection, you can just store your entire banknote collection in one place. That can just go on a shelf. That's very, very handy. If you've got a large collection, as you'll see shortly, that you can store them, again, very neatly in a manner that makes the best use of space. And they're basically like a ring binder. So you can have acid-free sort of card dividers, and you can have the content of a whole series from one particular bank or one particular region, all contained within one ring binder. So you can just flick through it like a book. And again, if someone's wanting to look at these for study purposes, it really is an ideal way of A, storing them, and B, allowing them to be viewed. And yeah, there they are. on a shelf there, so it does make a very, very good use of space. It keeps the banknotes nice and flat as well, and also the massive benefit of this is they're stored out of direct sunlight, natural light, and also electric light, and keeping them, they're very, very light sensitive, of course, so keeping them in darkness at all times, unless they're on display, is worthwhile. So yeah, just a quick summary on banknotes. Mailneck sleeves, obviously, some of them are included in your starter packs, and yeah, that's just reiterating some of the points I've already made. I don't think there's anything I need to mention again there. So just to conclude on this sort of storage, again, funding and staff issues can restrict major changes to storage facilities, especially for numismatics. Obviously, with the amount of funding cuts and staff shortages, everyone has to make choose their priorities, and in some cases, numismatics don't fall into that category. But hopefully what I've told you about today can provide you with some sort of just helpful hints, basically, and maybe some quick and easy ways of safeguarding your collection. So some of these things I mentioned are time-consuming, but they're worthwhile. Alternatives to perhaps things that are being done at the moment, and cost-effective ways of doing things are, of course, available. But the things I would really emphasise, just before finishing on this, is the removal of felt from trays and cabinet bases. That is really worthwhile. Replacement of PVC, PVC, I can't even pronounce it, and manila envelopes. I think that is really important for conservation reasons. If you're able to do that, like I say, it is time consuming and a bit dull, but it's worth doing because the acid-free envelopes are so much better. Storing medals in acid-free boxes or plastic, that's worth doing for the reasons I've already mentioned. It just safeguards them from knocking into each other and sort of corroding if they're rubbing against each other when they're in storage. And storing banknotes in Mailneck sleeves and acid-free boxes is a very beneficial thing as well. And for security reasons, as I mentioned earlier, filling empty holes in coin trays with tickets just to show that nothing is missing is a worthwhile thing. It's very easy to do. Maybe a colour-coded one that's unique to your institution. And the use of coin remove tickets, which I've already mentioned, to show nothing is missing, is a very good thing. And it also allows the swift tracing or locating of objects if you're not sure where one is when you've just opened the tray to have a look for something. If you'd like any more information, do please visit the Money and Medals website. I'm going to talk to you for, hopefully, have I got time to talk about the website? I'll go through that a little bit quickly in a sec. If you want to drop me an email, do please feel free. If I can't answer your question directly, then of course I can find someone who can. And also seek advice and support from your colleagues within the Northwest Regional Network, which is, as we can see, set up and working very well. If I'm, as Lindsay mentioned at the beginning, I'm the project curator for the Money and Medals Network, which is an Arts Council funded project. If you want to learn more about that, have a look at the website, which I can hopefully show you now. So many of you would have met me already when I've been on my assessment trips. Some people I'll be in touch with at the moment and haven't actually arranged a trip yet, and some people I maybe just be in touch with by email. But if I've not been to visit you yet, hopefully at some point I will be able to. With the best will in the world, I intend to visit everyone who gets in touch and wants to participate. So if it's possible, in the time allowed of the project, I will come and meet you at some point. So here's the website. This is administered by my colleague and predecessor, Richard Kelleher. He set this up, and this is going to be a really, really fantastic resource in terms of regional networking, also national networking, and also seeking advice and resources and support on that national and that regional level. So I just wanted to quickly show you the collections section of the website. This is something that Rich and I, amongst others, have been working on, and we're working on developing this section of the website as well. So when I go on the assessment trips, the first thing I do is send out a questionnaire. The questionnaire then forms the basis of information that's recorded on the website. Obviously, if some people have had concerns about security, no sensitive information goes on the website at all. It's all about the content of your collection and how accessible it is to the public and what your study facilities are and your exhibition space is like. That's basically all the information that goes on there. If you have any concerns about information being made publicly accessible, raise it with me and I can talk to you about it. And if you've got the questionnaire and there's something you think, I don't want to fill that in, just don't do it. That's absolutely fine by me. But let's have a quick look at the Northwest regional page here. It is obviously a work in progress. We're working on this as quickly as humanly possible amongst all the other projects we've got on at the moment. So here, this is basically a list of everyone who has agreed to participate and has submitted the questionnaire. Not everyone has a page yet because either I've not got around to putting that information up on the website or it's not being submitted to me. This is obviously a time-consuming project, so it has to be done on the terms of the museum that wants to be involved. So let's maybe have a look at a couple of examples. Let's have a look at Manchester Museum since we're here. There we go, nice picture of the institution there. Details of who to contact and where the museum is, and a bit of information about what is contained within the collection. This is going to be really very useful if you've got something in your collection that you maybe want to find out more about. You can look on this page and find out who's got a similar collection, and then you can find out who to contact, if you haven't already met them here, of course, or previously. So yeah, there's some more detail there just about access to the collection and so on. And so let's have a quick look at another one. Ben's here, so let's have a quick look at World Museum Liverpool. This is one that I've added quite recently. Again, nice picture of the museum there. If you can send me pictures of the museum or your official logo, that really helps to sort of just spice up your page a little bit. So if you're able to send that to me, it just makes it look a little bit more unique to your institution, which I think is it's a worthwhile thing. So yeah, that's what is contained by World Museum Liverpool, a part of National Museum of Liverpool. A bit more detail here, and just as a contrast, I'll quickly show you before I finish. Since Stephen's here, I'm going to tell you about the collection at Knowsley Hall. This is a really interesting collection. The great thing about the Money Medals project, I think, is that not every institution that's been visited or contacted is actually a museum. At Knowsley Hall, which I can just show you the page of here, I hope Stephen doesn't mind, this is, of course, a private collection. But Stephen and Lord Derby, who is the owner of the collection, said that they're both happy for their collection to be included in the network, so thanks very much to them. It just shows the range of collections that are held within the UK and just how interesting they are. Not everything is held within a museum. There are other collections held privately, and just to sort of make those publicly aware is a really beneficial thing, which I'm very pleased everyone was so happy to sort of allow. So that's just a really interesting example there. If you get a chance to speak to Stephen, do so, because the story behind that is really fascinating, which I won't go into right now. And if some people do have concerns about the size of their collections, please don't be worried about that. Some people have said to me, I don't really think that you want me to be involved because our collection is very small. I think the reverse of that. I think it's really important that the smaller collections are included, and that the information about them is made publicly accessible, so that people with an interest in numismatics are made aware of what's in their region, and also so that people who work in the business, if you like, are aware as well. So in Cornwall, I recently signed up the National Maritime Museum Cornwall. They've got 25 medals in their collection, and that's the extent of everything that they've got. But I think it was hugely important for them to be signed up. So if you have any concerns about the size of your collection, please don't worry about it. We want to include everyone who wants to be involved. We want to include them. I'm going to finish there, unless anyone's got any questions. I think that's it.
Use Melanics for coins as well as for...
We tend not to. We tend just to use Melanics for banknotes.
Reason for that?
We just have different storage facilities for coins. It's better to have the coins in the trays, really. So that's just the sort of the way we choose to do things. And Melanics it's obviously much better for paper objects. Yeah.
Is there a policy on coins and medals that have pre-existing labels on them, perhaps from 19th or earlier centuries?
Yeah, we tend to keep them actually. Yeah, we do tend to keep them. I think in some cases we may store them separately, but generally we do actually tend to keep them with the object as well.
If they're actually attached to the coins and medals themselves? The issue with adhesive.
Yeah, I can't think of any examples where we do have things actually sort of adhered to the objects. We would approach conservation and just get an opinion on that, and if they were able to separate them. for the benefit of the object, then that's probably what we would go ahead with. That would be up to the individual curator who looked after that collection. That would be their decision. But advice would be taken from conservation. And I think in the ideal world, we would separate them. Yeah. And if it's a historic label, it would probably be of historical interest to keep that, but possibly to store it separately.
Would you store medals with ribbons or groups of medals in boxes as well, or would you consider using medal next to?
Yeah, we tend not to separate ribbons from medals. I may be wrong, so if my colleagues would like to correct me, that'd be fine. But the ones that I've seen in storage, they have their medals, the ribbons, still attached, and they're both contained within larger boxes. The boxes come in different sizes. Again, that's another issue that is down to the personal preference of the individual institution. If you want to remove the ribbon for conservation reasons, then obviously that'll be up to you. I think the policy is that we choose not to, because our medals curator is just very keen that the object is kept in a way that it was made, pretty much, because that forms part of the history and the story of the object itself. Okay, I don't think I've got anything else to mention, so unless there are any further questions, I'll stop there.
About one of the images you brought up with the plastic in the metal tray. Do you put anything to line the tray?
Yeah, I'll just show you that. It's Jiffy foam, basically, which is, again, you could use a thin layer of plastizote, or if I can just get back to that section. Right, irritating, I didn't include the one where you can see the Jiffy foam. You can just see Jiffy foam through that cutout underneath there, but you could use a layer of plastizote. If you had storage issues, we would use this possibly maybe for packing things into a crate for a loan, but you can maybe layer things up. So if you've got one storage cabinet and that's all you've got, and you want to store, if you choose to store metals in this particular way, you could layer them something like a sort of metal lasagna, which would be not ideal perhaps, but at least the objects will be kept stable and secure in those cutouts. All right, well, thank you all very much for coming for one thing, and thank you very much for listening.